katoa. E tautoko ana hau ngā mihi kua mihia, ngā poroporo aki kia rātou, kua hipatu i te tatau a hine nui te pō, hoki mai kia tātou ngā kanohi ora, ngā waihotanga iho o rātou mā, ngā kai kawe a ngā tikanga me ngā tūmanako me ngā reo o rātou mā mātou hei whai. Tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou e hara mai i runga i te pōhiri kia hui tahi ai tātou ahakoa mō tēnei wā poto. Engari i runga i te mōhio he tīmatanga tēnei mō tēnei toru tau. Ākuni, ka haere atu au ki ōrohe, te kōrero, te whakarongo, te mahi ngātahi me koutou i roto i o koutou ake rohe. Ko taku whakaaro, ka eke au ki runga i tēnei tūranga. He tūranga taumaha, engari he tūranga hihi te hinengaro, tino hihiko te ngākau me te wairua. Me taku mōhio, me mahi tahi tātou, kia kore e tino taumaha mō tētahi hei kawe, hei waha. Ākoni ka haere au ki te hui me ngā iwi o te moana nui a kiwa. Kei te mōhio koutou e rua aku pōtai mo te mātauranga, mō ngā āhuatanga hoki e pāna, ki o tātou tuākana taina o ngā motu o te moana nui a kiwa. Muri o tērā, ka haere ahau ki ngā rohe, te kōrero ki ngā hea mana o ngā poari kura, te kōrero ki ngā kai pākihi, te kōrero ki ngā kai kawe, kōrero hopu pikitia rānei i roto i ēnā rohe, kia rongo kato rātou taku kōrero, aku wero, aku kōkiri, kia rātou, kia tātou katoa, kia tae e tātou tēnei kōrero, e kōrero hia nei i te ata nei, kia rewa ake, kia piki ake, kia eke wā tātou tamariki mohopuna ki runga i o rātou huarahi pai, me te māro te haere no te mea kua whiwhi e rātou, wā rātou, passport wā rātou, tohu mātauranga, kia taia e rātou te tūrangatirai i roto i tēnei whenua ātāhua o Aotearoa. Nā reira, koe rā taku tino tūmanako, nau mai, haere mai. I'd like to acknowledge my parliamentary colleagues, my brothers in arms, the Minister of Māori Affairs, Dr. Sharples, the Minister also, or Associate Minister of Māori Education. He and I have much to do together, and there will be times when we do them separately and times when we do them together as we are this morning. But wherever we are around the country on any of these issues, we will be speaking as one, even if we are explaining our aspirations in different words. We both share an absolute commitment to making a difference in the 3 years that we have been gifted by you to do this work. I want to also acknowledge my other brother, Te Ururoa, in the House, around Parliament and around the country. I often get little texts or emails advising me on how I could quickly help in particular areas, and I appreciate that very much. And I'd like to acknowledge that we have with us our newish Secretary of Education, Leslie Longstone. She will be taking the opportunity to speak directly with you this morning. And over here on the left, we have a number of the organisations that are peak bodies within the education sector, and which I considered it important that they be along here this morning. So we have NZQA, we have ERO, I think we have representation from the Teachers Council, from Education New Zealand, Te Rapea from Learning Media, from Careers New Zealand, And of course, I'm discovering more and more people that I've known from different parts of my life now are my slaves in the Ministry of Education. So it's wonderful that they are all here today to hear what we have to say to one another and to quickly identify how they can propel up their efforts so that we might get swifter change and measurable gain in all the work that we have ahead of us. And I'd like to thank all of you for the work that you have been doing, many of you for many a long year, many of you more recently. You who are engaged in direct partnerships with the Ministry of Education, but more particularly engaged in direct partnerships with your own iwi. And I'd like to thank you for the work that you do there every day in every way, juggling multiple hats, often never satisfying anyone. It's a feeling that I can relate to, and however it just pushes us to try harder, to aspire more, and to be tougher as we go about this wonderful challenge we have of providing the opportunity for our young people to be successful. So thank you for the work you do, and thank you for the work that you will continue to do and that I look forward to supporting you with. Thank you to the Iwi Forum that presented their proposal to the Prime Minister last week. Oh, was it only such a short time ago that we enjoyed the hospitality of the North? Presented to the Prime Minister a number of very compelling challenges, key amongst which is how we can exponentially raise our combined efforts to address real outcomes for Māori students. I do not have specific responses to those specific proposals, but I am asking the Ministry of Education to work with you quickly to identify a plan of action so that we can tick those off. There are ones amongst those proposals that I want to question, and I look forward to the opportunity to have that discussion to understand what is proposed and which parts of it are properly the responsibility of the government, which parts of it are properly the responsibility of iwi, and which parts are ones that we should do together. And so that is a discussion I look forward to. So thank you all very much for being here today. It is the beginning, as I've just said, of a very active community engagement program that I'm setting off on, because I want to be sure that everyone who is involved with this work understands that we have different but complementary roles to play. So while my remarks this morning are going to be directed at you, I will be out talking to boards, to the New Zealand School Trustees Association, with whom I've already met. I will be out talking to peak organisations, and I have met many of them from the early childhood sector, primary, secondary, and into the marvellous and very clear vocational pathway work that is underway at present. So this morning my focus is very much on what can be our joint collaboration. It does not ignore that there is a profession out there, that there are governance arrangements, that there are other participants, and I will also be talking to them. Because Aotearoa New Zealand is a first world nation. We have first world aspirations, and in order to deliver on those, we need a first world economy. We need an economy that grows the productivity of our people and our resources, that allows us to compete smartly where we are but a very small player in the global enterprise. We live out here in the middle of the beautiful Pacific. We live in the Southern Hemisphere. We have to be able to be nimble and alert and see and take all of the opportunities that our minds and perspicacity make available to us. And in order to do that, we have to take the most advantage of the resources we have available to us. Our natural resources of land and water, and our cultural resources of people and diversity. And the many languages and identities and thinking technologies that you and they bring. Because one of the biggest gifts of culture is that we think differently, and therein lies innovation. We talk often about innovation. In my view, innovation is simply putting known ingredients together in a different recipe, and that can most often happen when we are having diverse conversations with people who come from different worldviews and look at the world around us through different lenses. Or it's about using new ingredients that come from our cultural crucible of genetic and cultural difference that we can bring to the discussion of how do we become a smarter nation, how do we develop that most important resource of all, the one that lives at the most powerful address of all, and that is the one between our two ears. This is where located the most powerful, the most potent, the most transformational resource any one of us and our children will ever have. This is the address that we live at all of our lives. So we need to make it the most vibrant, the most dynamic, the most open to knowledge and learning, the most acquiring of skills and opportunities, and we need to ensure that we make that available to our children and to our uri whakatipu. And so to realise that potential, we need a world-class education system, a system that is able to respond to the challenges of a 21st century, a system that is able to underpin learning communities and lifelong learning pathways, a system that is open and responsive and performance-oriented, and that understands that one size does not fit all, and nor should it, because it robs us then of the very richness of diversity that I have been speaking about. We know that it does work for nearly everyone. Our nearly world-class education system. We want to be able to proclaim that not only is it world-class, but it's world-leading. And there are many features that put it on the cusp of becoming that. But it needs to be pinched and pushed and nudged if we are to get the performance and the service that all New Zealand students expect, entitled to and deserve. And so while it works very well for about 80% of our students, it is not serving well about 20%. And too many of those that it is not serving well are Māori, Pacifica, come from low-income homes or have special needs. And so we have a dual challenge ahead of us. The first is to make sure that we can continue to improve and do better what we are already doing. And the concurrent challenge is to change those parts of the system that are not doing well for our children across the country. So it isn't one or the other, it is both improving the significant features of our education system to do better, and it is about changing those parts that aren't working as well so that they in turn can not only do better for that 20%, but through a virtuous cycle improve constantly the entire system. At that point, we will be able to proclaim that not only do we have a world-class education system, but let's make it a world-leading education system. Now, our overriding priority as a government, and mine as a minister, is to see raised achievement for all in measurable ways. That is what we are focused on doing. We have about 33 months left to do it. I feel a great urgency to get on and make gain, and I want to instil in us that same urgency which was also part of the whai kōrero this morning. Our agencies in the sector, as I've said, are also seized of or about to be seized of that urgency and the need to collaborate to reinforce what value we can offer to all of you. Ko tērā te tahi pātai ko tuku mai kia tātou, he pātai nui, he pātai hohonu, he pātai, ka pātai tātou kia tātou, i ngā wā ka hui ai tātou. Ko tērā pātai, he aha te mea nui o te ao. Nā ko te whakahoki, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. Engari ko taku pātai kia tātou, he aha te mea nui o te ao, kei roto i te ao mātauranga, ko etahi o ngā whakahoki, i runga anō i ngā reta ka tuku mai kia au, i runga anō i ngā kōrero a tēnā reo, ko ngā tangata e hanga whare kura, ko ngā tangata taraiwa pahi ki te kura, ko ngā hea mana o ngā puari me o ngā kaitiaki, ko ngā tumuaki o ngā kura, ko ngā kaiako o ngā kura, a tērā pia ko koutou, ngā kōka, ngā pāpa, ngā tīpuna, ne, ro te wā ka tatari a hau te rongo, he aha te mea nui o te ao mātauranga, ko te akonga, ko te pēpi, ko hunga, ko tiro tamatāne, ko te tauira, ko te akonga. Mai i te ata ki te pō, mai i te mane ki te rā tapu, mai i te tīmatanga o te tau ki te mutunga o te tau, koera ko te akonga, te tino tangata, te tino mea nui o te ao mātauranga. Koera taku whakahoki ki tērā pātai. And so I think that we must have an unambiguous, unequivocal, learner-centred education system with an unrelenting focus on raised achievement. Yes, it is important that we hear about properties and prefabs. Yes, in fact, often parents are moved to protest and bus to Wellington to protest about their school gym or their school swimming pool or their school prefab. I would love it if we wanted to bus to Wellington to talk about maths quality or literacy quality or the curriculum resources that will raise achievement. I would love it if we had protests outside classrooms because we were concerned about the quality of learning occurring in our schools. I hear far too often about buildings and buses and huis and all of those, yes, inputs. They are dimensions of our provision for education. But the purpose of the education system is our learners. That's who I want to hear about. That's what I want to be focused on. That's who I want to work with you to see achievement raised for and with. So how do we do that? Together. We do have different roles, but they are complementary ones. We do have excellent components of a world-class system here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. We have had for nearly 25 years autonomous, self-managing boards of schools. This is a feature that other countries in the world look at and think, how radical, we might want to try that. And we've had it for nearly 25 years. That doesn't mean that everything about that particular feature is fabulous and effective. As with all of us as we age, and I look around here and I see many and I think, do I know that person? Oh, that is Martin Timoni. We do age, and so do our systems, and so do our provisions, and that means that we have to constantly ask, is this fit for purpose for a 21st century? Are the governance arrangements we have, in whole or in part, exactly what we need to take our learning transformation into the 21st century? And if not, what kinds of refinements or modifications should we be looking at? So boards play a very important part. Principals. Principals are the professional leaders of their learning community, and their role is critical. They need to lead the discussion about education, about what the evidence says about what will make the difference, about how they get the best out of their teaching staff, how they get focused as a microcosm on raising achievement, not for some students, not for many students, but for all students. So the role of the principal as the professional leader is absolutely critical. The role of the learning facilitator, of the teacher in the learning connection, in the classroom, in the playground, out in the taiao, on the waka, where safety and security of the students has been well planned for, wherever that learning experience takes place, it is also essential that the teacher has a really good practice, one of informed by assessment, their professional judgment, constant feedback, iteration and collaboration with their peers within their school and outside of their school, so that they, in their connection with our learners, can make magic. So teachers are an incredibly important part of our educational landscape. Parents, family, whānau, aina, tipuna, papa, koka, all of you and us, we are an incredibly important part of the education landscape. What we expect of our kids, what we expect of ourselves, what we say, but more importantly what we do, really makes the difference to the attitude and mindset of our young people and of the teachers, principals and boards who need to know about, be aware of, be accountable for your interests and concerns and expectations of your children. The Ministry of Education and our other sector agencies, they have a key role to play. They operate many levers of the system. They have a responsibility to constantly be seeking greater value and exponential leverage of working with each other and driving each other to collaboratively and competitively get better and better. And I have a role to play.